Hey guys, King of Charmander here. Today I'll be your judge, your jury, and your analyst. Now, some of you asked for Open Ultra League budget teams, so I'm gonna give you Open Ultra League budget teams. And let's be honest, if you don't want to play Ultra League Remix, Open Ultra League is your best bet. So with that, there are plenty of options for budget for Open Ultra League compared to Ultra League Remix. But I'm gonna give you my top 3 because these are the 3 I've practiced the most and given me a lot of results. So, as I always say, please consider contributing to pvpoke.com. As you see, we're going to go to the rankings. You know what I mean? Ranking like my relationship, you swipe left on Tinder, which I don't actually use, by the way. Fun fact, King of Charmander doesn't actually use Tinder. I am a marriage family, well, I'm a, technically I'm a marriage family therapist, but I'm get licensed soon. As a therapist, you should have a great relationship with you and your Pokemon, at least until Niantic brings them to life because of AR, and then your Pokemon starts complaining at you because you start abusing it. That, or you are very cheap, so you will only invest on your cheap Pokemon, and your expensive Pokemon will look at you and cry for treats. Anyways, as you see here, Open Ultra League is a lot more friendly than Ultra League Remix. If you don't show Ultra, as you see, there's not, like, if you take out the XLs, there's still a whole lot of options. So, a lot of cheap options. Yes, they need their community moves, but some of them do need the community moves, but it's totally worth it. As for long-term use, they will be powerful for a very long time. Anyways, let's get started. Alright, so for team number 1, I have Obstagoon lead, Gyarados, Safe Switch, and Charizard to close out. So I definitely recommend you use Hyper Beam Obstagoon. I've learned that if you Hyper Beam through shields and you hit a Togekiss, you will likely KO it, which is freaking hilarious. But this team is a very very budgety. You can replace Charizard, but Gyarados Safe Switch is really powerful in Open Ultra League just because of its ability to take on so many combinations. The problem is if you do see a Charmer in the lead, then you probably are going to you need to Hyper Beam through shields. So if you see a Charmer lead, you need to try to Hyper Beam through shields, otherwise it's pretty much going to be GG's. Well, not GG's for the sense, but it's going to be really hard to come back. Just because Gyarados in the 2 shield doesn't do well against Togekiss, but Charizard does. So if you Safe Switch into Gyarados, they Safe Switch into Gyarados, you win switch, you can realign their Togekiss against your Charizard, and then you can play out the match that way. Other than that, your other option is to Hyper Beam through shields with Obstagoon. Good coverage, good safety, not a lot of bulk just because Charizard isn't a very bulky mon along with Gyarados for Ultra League. It is consistent though, it will do a lot of damage, and the reason why I like it a lot, against the meta, you do it very, very well, especially Obstagoon in 2 shield does so well against so many combinations. Particularly Giratina altered with Shadow Claw. If Giratina altered has Shadow Claw, Obstagoon is amazing, which is why Obstagoon is a top lead for Open Ultra League. And it's also really cheap. It's only 10k dust for the second move. In fact, this entire team, 10k dust for the second move for all of them. Charizard does need its community move in Blast Burn, but that's probably the most expensive thing you're going to have to get out of it. Other than that, if you look at it, this team is excessively powerful. Lugia can give you an issue with Dragon Tail, but you do have Night Slash. So again, you're either going to boost with Night Slash, or you're going to Hyper Beam through shields with Hyper Beam. So that's your win condition if you see a Charmer lead. Other than that, you can try to be really risky and Hyper Beam through shields against a lot of combinations. If it lands 9 times out of 10, unless it resists it, you will probably kill whatever's in front of you. That's what makes Hyper Beam Obstagoon so powerful. Again, pretty high threat score, but again, gave you the win conditions. Hyper Beam through shields. If you lose lead, Safe Switch into Gyarados and realign in a Charizard. Alright, so team 2, it's Swampert lead, Alolan Muck Safe Switch to be exact, and an Obstagoon to close out. Now with Muck, you can run Gunk Shot. Honestly, Sludge Wave is better in my opinion. So with Sludge Wave, you can nuke most things with Sludge Wave versus Gunk Shot. Just put that in out there. Swampert is an incredibly powerful lead. As usual, you'll see a lot of Swamperts in the lead. You can Earthquake through shields or choose to bait shields with Hydro Cannon. It's up to you. Alolan Muck is one of the most powerful safe switches. For a very long time, Alolan Muck safe switch has been very, very good for Open Ultra League. Obstagoon closes out with Hyper Beam. I forgot to change that there, but as you see, Obstagoon closes out with Hyper Beam. Obstagoon with Hyper Beam can destroy a lot of things. If you boost with Night Slash, it's amazing. With Alolan Muck, if you are able to Sludge Wave through shields against the Charmer, they will die. Swampert is incredibly powerful as a lead, and with Energy Advantage is an absolute monster. As you see, this team is good across the board with coverage and bulk. Great safety and consistency. You lose the lead with Swampert, safe switch in Alolan Muck, and hopefully you can realign an Obstagoon and Swampert can close out. Or you can Hyper Beam through shields and just destroy them. As you see here, this team does really well against Registeel leads, or if you get a Steel lead, Swampert can be Guillotine altered in the 0 straight Earthquake, so you still have win cons even if you see the big Ghost Dragon. Just keep in mind that Water leads or Charmers can 2-shield their way through, so just be very careful with Swampert. Swampert does really well against Talonflame though. With a lot of talent, I've seen Talonflame in the lead a lot, so Swamperts, that's why you see Swampert in the lead, because Talonflames are in the lead. As you see here, this team is really good against Talonflame. Swampert can break shields, and then you could say switch in Alolan Muck. And strat you can do is sacrifice Swampert, break shields with Swampert, sacrifice it completely, and then send Alolan Muck and Obstagoon with shield advantage to close out. Or you just boost with Obstagoon, or you sledge right through shields with Alolan Muck, like I mentioned, and that's GG's. This team's really cheap. With the exception of Alolan Muck, it's 75k dust, but it is 75k dust worth spending. Really high threat score, but generally most budget teams will have high threat scores anyway, so don't worry about that. Just, again, if you lose league against Swampert, say switch in Alolan Muck and close out with Obstagoon, or you could realign into Swampert if whatever you see in front of you is good, and you could farm it down, do several plays, etc. It's up to you. And last but not least, we have Gyarados lead. Gyarados lead is an incredible lead just because in a lot of scenarios, you don't have to switch out of Gyarados. You could just Dragon Breath down, and you farm down with Typhlosion or Swampert and burn your opponent in the back. Fun fact, I've gotten in a lot of Solar Beams on Swamperts thanks to Typhlosion. This team is incredibly powerful and does really well. Swampert will be your safe switch, or like I said, you could do the sacrifice Gyarados strategy where you never have to switch out of Gyarados and you just let Gyarados die. So it's just really up to you. As you see here, it has good coverage as well as good safety. Not a lot of bulk though, so this team isn't incredibly bulky just because of Gyarados in it, but it is going to do a lot of damage, which is amazing consistency. This team will absolutely destroy Registeel. If they have Registeel, you're going to have a good time, or if they have a Talonflame, as you see here. This team does excessively well against a lot of combinations, except, again, if you lose the lead, safe switch into Swampert and try to close out. This is a very cheap team, does really, really well, isn't incredibly powerful. However, just keep in mind, Charmers can give you a hard time because Charmer 2-Seal strats are really strong, which is why you're going to sacrifice Gyarados, send in Typhlosion, burn him down with Incinerate, and then Solar Beam to Oblivion. His team is very strong. Lower threat score than the other two, however, generally overall, this team does have a unique strategy with Gyarados as sacrificing Gyarados, or again, you say switch into Swampert and then try to close out with Gyarados and Typhlosion. Typhlosion's really powerful. Blast Burn will force a lot of shields, KO those Registeels, or you can Solar Beam Swamperts like no tomorrow. Done it several times, which is why Typhlosion is a great budget pick in Open Ultra League. Again, if you lose the lead, just say switch into Swampert. Otherwise, you could do the sacrifice Gyarados strat, never switch out, and then farm down with Swampert and Typhlosion, and hopefully all the energy you got from either Swampert or Typhlosion can close out the match. And that's GG's. I hope you enjoyed the video, and hopefully these budget teams do help you out. I narrowed it down to top 3 rather than top 5 just because these teams perform really well in my opinion, and they performed well when I trained or simmed with them with friends. So they've done really well, and hopefully they do help you out. I know Ultra Premier isn't available, which some of you do like. Unfortunately, Niantic, in my opinion, really jacked up by only letting Ultra Premier and Ultra League Remix at the same time. You have the room or the capacity to do 4 cups, so why not just have Ultra Premier available? I don't know why you want to force people to play Ultra League Remix, especially since Ultra League Remix is essentially like a pay-to-win type of deal, just because XLs are so powerful, and it doesn't allow for a lot of room the way the meta is shaped out. Other than that, you have to go through Open Ultra League if you're not Legend. Hopefully these teams do help you out, and hopefully they do well. If you have any questions, just ask them in the comments. If you do me a huge favor, please like and subscribe. It's totally free, and you can easily subscribe by putting your mouse over that little box to the bottom right. You see where it says subscribe? Put your mouse over it, and you can easily sub from there. Thank you so much, and like I said, for all my subscribers, I really do appreciate you, and it's totally free. Like I mentioned, liking and subscribing is totally free. Again, hopefully these teams do help you out. Good luck in your Go Battle League sets, and I will see you guys on the next video.
Ciao!